Hi YouTube fam, what's up? It's OD, aka Mr. DisEmbarked himself. Um, I'm trying something new with my channel. This time I'm going to focus more so on veterans, but not in the way that you might think. Um, Lately across YouTube I've been seeing a lot of content creators pop up who are veterans, and these veterans are specifically giving advice to other veterans about the VA compensation system. Uh, some topics ranging from how to seek an increase in compensation on certain issues or on certain diagnoses or for certain issues that you previously received compensation for. And then some are also highlighting some of the laws and policies passed pertaining to veterans. Now, all that is good information, but it's important that you exercise careful discernment with some of the stuff that's out there. Some of the stuff, if you lean too hard into it, you could potentially find yourself in a position where you're committing fraud, right? So today, today and the overall direction of this channel, I want to kind of zoom in or hone in on some of these instances in which you have veterans who attempted to exploit, and I'm gonna say attempted to because I don't want to indict anybody. Now, the cases that I'm pulling up, it sounds like they've been adjudicated, and it seems like the individual has been charged and currently is serving, and their fine and their sentence has been published. But maybe there's more to the story than that was released initially. So I'm gonna leave room for that. But yes, I plan to highlight these instances in which you have veterans who do exploit the system. So without further ado, here we go. So as you can see, I'm on the United States Attorney's Office, specifically for the Middle District. And I heard a little bit about this case on a Reddit forum. It kind of popped across. I follow some of the VA benefits content out there. I don't post anything because, once again, you have these veterans who are very braggadocious about beating the VA system, or and don't get me wrong, some of these guys deserve it, right? I understand the frustration of going back and forth with the VA if your condition wasn't documented in detail. But yes, not everybody exploits the system. But yes, that's what people tend to do in that group. They, when they achieve the 100% rating or they get this buku amount of back pay, they brag or boast and say, hey, going to spend it on alcohol hookers or something. But I hope they're spending it to help improve their condition and make their circumstances better. But this veteran in particular, he was sentenced to prison for defrauding the VA in connection with the receipt of disability benefits. This happened June 3rd, 22, in Tampa, Florida. And so the U.S. District Judge sentenced said individual, who's 51 years of age, to 27 months in federal prison and ordered him to pay $429,568.09 in restitution for theft of government funds and false statements to the United States Department of Veteran Affairs. But basically, this guy, he exaggerated the extent of his visual impairment. What else? Basically walked in and failed this test on purpose, right? Which declared him legally blind. Additionally stated it affected his ability to drive. But I guess in an investigation, they found that this individual was actually driving. Not only was he driving a car, but he was driving a 3-wheel motorcycle, an ATV, and a boat. Holy shit. Also, they caught this individual out there mowing his lawn, which obviously your eyesight needs to be on point to make those parallel lines in your yard if you're that person. And then a whole host of other tasks: mowing his lawn, hunting, fishing, scuba diving, performing other tasks not limited to shopping without assistance. So pretty much this guy lied about his symptoms, and maybe he did not. Maybe initially during the exam, the severity of his condition was to this level. But he never either updated the VA on this condition, or whenever they did call him in for a reevaluation of his condition, he exaggerated. He just walked in with a cane or a CNI dog. Oh, expert testimony at trial established that an individual with a 5-degree visual field could not drive and would be reliant on a white cane to function in public. And then I like to see this too. Today's sentence sends a clear message that veterans who defraud the VA by exaggerating their disabilities will be held accountable, said special agent within the Department of Veteran Affairs, Office of Inspector General's office. VA disability programs are established to justly compensate deserving veterans, and the VA OIG is committed to investigating those who would exploit these programs. So there's that. So my take on it is simply this: if something is genuinely wrong with you, by all means, fight for what you deserve with the VA. But don't push it. I think a lot of these guys, especially if you reveal your situation, right, your conditions, or how much you're being paid, and I think this is where a lot of it starts. You talk to other people about how much they're receiving from VA, and you're like, what? I think right now at 100%, and with this most recent COLA adjustment, some people are making upwards of the 100% folks are making up to 4,500. I think I've seen an instance somebody said they made 5,000, and that's, of course, you add additional dependents. But it's not worth it, right? Because if you serve in the military, one thing for sure: when you owe the government, they're gonna get theirs. Like, no ifs, ands about it. It's gonna take a long time for you to receive yours, but they are gonna get theirs for sure. So, think twice before you do it. And also, I'd like to highlight, because a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this. I work for a federal agency, and so I had a more so evaluated performance in the role that I worked in auditing certain programs throughout the federal government. But that's when I learned more about the OIG and some of the investigative legs of the federal government. And, right, they have an obligation to make sure that people aren't exploiting these systems, and the people who need them most are receiving them. There's always constantly complaints about how slow the VA is, or bureaucracy. Well, the bureaucracy exists to protect the taxpayer, right? We have to make sure we're good stewards. I'm saying we, but I don't work for federal anymore. But they have to make sure, they have an obligation to make sure that they are good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. So therefore, they have to do their due diligence. They have to take the time to make sure that, okay, so this individual said they were there at this time. Let's check their service records and make sure this is true. And if we're not quite sure, okay, well, we'll see if they can provide like a secondary testimony, somebody who's within their unit who could attest to, their service. And they have to do that, because then we would just be in a situation where we're giving out these benefits willy-nilly, and then you have situations like this. And I'm sure there are more folks out there. I'm sure there are people who made it to the end of life, receiving benefits from the VA, even though it's questionable, should they have been receiving this. But let this serve as a warning. And again, this isn't to throw anybody under the bus, or all of this is public information. It's just to highlight something that I see as a growing issue in our community, or against our community, right? The veteran community. In another video, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these consulting services that are out there, that are there to pretty much help guide you, or consult you on how to increase your VA disabilities or make your claims stronger. But some of them are predatory. Not only are they predatory in the sense they're preying on the veteran, requesting X amount of percentage of, whatever you get back in a lump sum. But also, it's sometimes you have some bad actors within those organizations who are encouraging veterans to exaggerate some of their symptoms, just for the sake of getting the extra dollars, right? But at the end of the day, once if you become the target of an investigation, those people won't be there. They won't be there. Their names will probably be on some nexus letter or whatever they provide to show that they're representing you. But when feds come knocking at your door and want to collect or reevaluate you to see if your statements are consistent, they won't be around. So yeah, but make sure you click the like button and hit subscribe. And if you enjoy seeing content like this, or you think this is harmful to the community, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I'm open to